Hello. I'm just going to pause the recording until we play. Okay. So, hey, there's Mary. Yay. All right. Welcome, everyone. If you don't know me, I'm Alexa Bigwarfe. I have been writing, publishing, and selling books now for about 12 years. My journey started on the entrepreneurial side. Well, actually, my journey officially started on the grief side, and I wrote a book and published it, and then really fell in love with the process of writing and started wanting to build a business around it. Joined a bunch of entrepreneur groups and really began my career as a publisher, helping other women in business, entrepreneurs, write and publish their books. And so it's been something that has expanded and grown a lot bigger than all of that through my company, Write, Publish, Sell. I do consulting and training and coaching. And then my biggest love is the Women in Publishing Summit, which is basically a place to bring together all women who are thinking about writing a book, in the process of writing a book, have already written a book, are publishers, are graphic designers, are editors, are anyone involved in that publishing world, and bring us all together, or those who are adjacent. Like we've had Renee as a speaker before, as she came in to talk about sales tactics, because if you're going to be writing and publishing a book, you need to know how to sell it. So it's been a really big pleasure to bring that group together, bringing everyone together in the same space to learn and grow. So in all of that time, Renee and I have been in groups together, in masterminds together. She's been my coach, and then I got to be her coach, because obviously we've known for years that she was going to write a book one day. But for those of you who popped over from my audience and don't know Renee, do you want to give them the snapshot of you?
Absolutely. Hello, Renee Hribar. The H is silent. Um, yes, I've known Alexa for a long time. Had the privilege. We met in like Boss Moms when there
Oh,
were like 200 people or there were people in there before I even had a real business. I mean, I hadn't really hung up my shingle yet, and I was just drawn to you and what you were teaching, and I thought, oh, I always wanted to write a book. And so one day in 2019, I did hire you to help me write the book, and you did everything you needed to do. And then I was like, I'm not going to publish this yet. I'm going to hold out for 6 more years.
I mean, 6 more years.
As one does. Why not? So I wrote this book BC, before chat. I feel
Ah,
like, wow, I know words. And I was about to publish it. And Alexa's like, we should talk about it. So I booked a strategy session. And thankfully, I was diverted. So for me, in terms of my background and experience, yes, this book is my brain. It is an encyclopedia of my 15 years of having a sales agency, of my 10 years of being a professional salesperson for other companies, of having my own beverage company, growing it, selling it, taking 5 years off, and then coming into the online space. I'm in my 50s, so if you add up the math, I am old enough. I just, I
you just look really young. You just look really young for all of that.
it's makeup, it's a lot of water, it's genetics.
Well, the reason that we wanted to have this in this style in a fireside chat is because as Renee and I were going through all of this, she just kept saying to myself, she kept saying to myself, she kept saying to me, oh my gosh, I had no idea. I didn't know this. I didn't know this part of it. Help! And all these things. And she did such a great job, because she is a sales coach, such a phenomenal job with the marketing and the advanced reader and all that kind of stuff. But what she didn't know was all of the details on the intricacies of what has to happen behind the scenes with the publishing stuff. So, like, well, let's kick it off. We kind of have some questions to guide us through this little conversation, but I do want to know that there is a question box there. You can drop your questions in there, but it's a really small, friendly, cozy group here today. I probably should have made this a meeting, but or you can drop it in the chat, whichever, if you have questions. So we already covered her early book journey. Let's talk about your pre-readers and accountability before we start getting into I don't know if you noticed, we titled it as a subtitle, like "How Not to Screw It All Up," because the ship can go down really quickly. At what point in time did you realize that you needed to bring in other people to help you launch this book? And how did you decide, you had a very unique process for bringing on your advanced readers. How did you decide that that's the way you wanted to do it?
Well, back in 2019, when we worked together and you were my book coach, like, all right, here's what you got to do. And at that point, I thought I had a book ready. And after I realized it's not quite ready, let me make a few tweaks. I'll see you in a month, 6 years later. But that was, again, on me. But one thing that stuck with me that you shared with me, and again, it's continuing to work with you over time, was the minute you start thinking about writing your book, start marketing it. So I had a page on my website for years, like, book coming soon, opt in. And then, of course, I have a community of people that I talk to, and they know that I do have this book. I kept a version of the book inside of my course, Sell Like a Mother, for a long time, for another like few years, a version again. Um, so when I knew that I was going to actually do it, and I had hired a book editor to walk me through it, thank you, Kate Allison, tip of the hat to you. She
She's
met with me
awesome.
every single week for like 6 months, and we just read through chapters in development and then, different stages of editing, which you could talk about better than I could. Basically, it was me just like reading it over with her like a child because that's what I needed. That's what I needed. And so then when I was like, okay, September of last year, I was like, all right, I can do it. That's when I was like, all right, I'm going to get some pre-readers together. But that's what you had in my head. You're like, get those pre-readers with you. You told me initially, like, try to shoot for 30. I got 78. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's
And I
really
gave them a
good.
crazy awesome incentive. So I'm excited about delivering on that now.
Yeah, the thing is, I think this is one thing that a lot of people, especially on the entrepreneur side, we assume we have a growing audience, we have an email list. This is
Yeah.
one assumption that people make, that I'm just going to have this built in audience that's just going to buy my book.
Right.
That may or may not be true. Not everybody wants your book. And so even if you have an audience, it's really important that you segment it out and pull in the most likely to support you and to need what you're doing. And also you've mentioned to me that you got a lot of feedback from them along the way
Yeah.
about the book.
I did. So so I put out the call. Okay, it's ready. We're gonna do it, but I still want pre-readers, and so I had them, in essence, hold me accountable. Like, I'm gonna read each chapter. You're gonna get a written version, so I'm gonna rewrite it, reread it. They get a written version and an audio version, and this is like on a Google Doc with a Zoom recording every single week-ish since October of 2024. So we're recording this in May of 2025. So the big part here is like I really thought it was gonna be like wham bam, thank you, ma'am, no problem. Yeah. No. So,
Well, and that's one of the biggest problems. I'll sprinkle in some advice throughout this as we go, obviously, but that's one of the biggest problems with um, uh, there's a lot of people out there saying you're building a business, you should be writing a book. I 100% agree with that. I think a book sets you apart. You're already an expert, but this one like sets you really apart. Now you've literally written the book on the topic, right?
right.
It opens up visibility to you in ways that you never imagined. Amazon is I believe now the largest search engine behind Google.
Yes.
So, and Google pulls when you're looking for something, how do I sell my product, how do I learn how to be a whatever, Google pulls in the very top books um,
Right.
on there. So there's a lot of benefits to it, but a lot of people will try to sell entrepreneurs into believing that you can write your book in a weekend and publish it, or write your book in 30 days, or write your book in 90 days and do this. And you can do that, it's achievable, but it doesn't get you the results that we're all really looking for, I believe. So you built this team, and
Did.
what did you feel about your launch after doing all of that? Or is there anything in between you want to let's
I think
let's let's capture the mistakes along the way, or how do you want to do this? It's up to
yeah.
you.
So here's what I did. So I broke it down. So I created a Google Doc because that's literally my whole life. And I just sent it out, DM'd a few people. Then I started doing, so I always say DM first. I DM'd my hottest, most likeliest, friendliest people that I know in my network, including friends and family. I did not have, like, hey, they know who I am and what I do. And then they had the opportunity to, once they read the doc, fill out a form. So there was that action of acceptance. Then they got put on an email list inside of my email service provider. and then they got put into a Google Calendar invite for some live coaching. Then they got put into a messenger thread. So there's a lot that we did before we even
Wow.
started. So
Yeah.
then I started posting and emailing about it. And I thought, again, I have an email list of like 30,000 people. I thought I was going to get a flood of people. I was going to hold them back with a bet. No, no. I mean, it just is how it is. Not everybody sees everything, and maybe they didn't care. But either way, I had really great people, and it grew a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. And every single time I would release a chapter, I would ask them to fill out a form and feedback. Some of them were so good. I'm like, you all are so good. Wow.
Mm.
It impacted I added more stories. I added more examples. I added more. I mean, it really started to change. It changed massively the end of the book.
Yeah.
Um, not the first chapter as much because I was already sort of like, I'm not doing that again. But as I started getting to know them better and trusting their advice and hearing I was able to it really impacted it. So that is the middle part is there was a messenger thread. There were live group calls that I
Yeah.
was saying, listen, come here and also, come here and share your opinions, share your insights. They were also reading the book and then putting it into action. So that was also helpful for me, encouraging for me,
Hmm.
to keep going.
Well, it's such a great point, and really, this ought to be the way that entrepreneurs are taught to write and publish their books because one, you're building that loyal fan base. Two,
Right.
although many of us write the book that we want to write, the most important thing is that we write a book for the person who's going to read it.
Right.
And you get that feedback and that buy-in doing it in that process. And like you said, it changed the end of the book. Now you know that it's written for your target audience with their feedback, with their questions, with their needs in mind.
Right.
And what a great it's the book that's going to do what you want it to do. Plus you've
Yeah.
got all these people shouting your name for you. So okay, so then that's when the funny thing comes along because we scheduled a call, we start talking about the marketing and what you need to do, and you already had a plan, but I hope I helped you like refine that plan.
You did.
And but then you're like, we're having our conversation and you're like, so I'm going on a cruise and I get back and I'm thinking I'm just going to launch my book the day of the cruise, which was like 2 weeks from that day. And I'm like, no, ma'am.
And I was so resistant. I was like, I'm gonna do what I want to do. I do what I want. And then came to my senses. Thankfully. Thank you for your patience and continued support. AKA, she kept telling me, stop. Stop
Well,
doing it. Do it this way. And I
there, yeah,
stopped.
there were a couple of things. This is where it really came into the what you don't know. And the first was I
Right.
said, let me see what your book looks like. And first of all, the cover was designed, but
Mm,
you hadn't received all the files that you need and in the right format. So that was something we
true.
had to figure out.
True.
And then the interior was designed and it looked like an amazing workbook, but
Mhm.
it wasn't formatted the way one might expect a nonfiction book to look. So
Right, which I didn't know. So, just so you all know, there are choices. It's like building an addition or getting a room done in your house, like a kitchen. Like we had our floors redone a couple years ago, and I swear we almost got a divorce because of it. Who knew? There were so many details. So this one detail is like, do you want white paper or cream? And I'm like, white. I don't know. And Alexa's like, no, you want cream. I'm like, I don't know. So, P.S. This is cream. This is cream, but it's white, right? But it's not because then you have this is a workbook, right? This is white. So it's ever so slightly different. And so, like you said, workbooks, journals are usually, I just brought this one out for example's sake, are usually in white paper and it looks different. And I'm like, these are all little things. And the thing that really stuck to me was like, if you ever want to enter this into any kind of book contests or publishing awards, which I was like, well, yeah, I would love to at some point, you have to have it in this format. I was like, then there's the answer. So
yeah,
it's education. And this goes to all from a sales perspective. All of us are experts and we ask our clients questions that they don't have enough information to answer,
right,
right?
right.
So it's hard for us as experts to know what they don't know because they seem like they know a lot,
Yeah, and with
but we don't
this,
know.
like we first of all, the message out there is that it's so easy to self-publish a book. Anyone can publish a book, and the reality is, it is easy. The act of going onto Amazon and loading the files and hitting publish not hard, but it's all the things in the process, finding the metadata, making sure you have the right keywords and categories, making sure your files are formatted properly. So we brought in our team. We had our team make sure that the covers were ready and all the right formats. We got the interior formatted for this style of book. Um, and just little things along the way, like once we saw the final formatted one, I was like, what's happening? Why does it have a dashed line on these things, on these pages? And she was like, because I want people to cut out the page. And I was like, well, then we got to redo this, because right now they're going to like cut out a page that has words on the other side. And so like it's these things, right?
Right, right, right. So many details. Like I was just pulling up the doc of like my shared doc. I yeah, all so many. What about the ISBN number? Where's that gonna go? The just having like this on the back and like the copyright and all the stuff on the inside and how it's laid out and don't put your picture on the front unless you're famous, and like all those things. She's like, you're actually gonna have people cut it out. I'm like, yeah, that's the plan. So many things that in your head as you're building something, you need another person to check yourself. You need checks and balances.
Exactly. Let's see. Okay, let's see. I'm trying to remember if there was any other, and then just the timeline, right? Okay, so back to that
Oh,
timeline. There's
that was
a,
so awesome.
well, first of all, okay, so Casey, my publishing assistant came in and helped you with the questions on Amazon and all that stuff. There's a lot more to those pages than one would think, putting in the
Correct.
right things.
Correct. So I, of course, Googled it because, we're living the age of information. And everything I learned, I was like, oh, wait, hold on a second. It's those little tiny details. Well, if you do it this way and not that way, oh, you can't go back. It's not like you can't just do it again. And so I did, thankfully, upon your advice, get the support of actually putting in the right things. Because I have a Kindle version, I've got a paperback version. This was the big deal, and then the Audible version, which I narrated myself, and I asked someone else to help me with that. So also like getting it Audible ready, getting it so that it could do like all these little details. I did not know what I was supposed to do. So between March 1st, when I had initially set out, because I was talking to you in February, thinking it's gonna be March 1st. That's my grandmother's birthday. I was like, oh, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be easy. Let's celebrate her birthday. No. April 8th was the actual launch date. And even that, I was like crawling to the finish line about all the things I wanted to do, laying on the floor at the end of the day.
I
Um,
mean, but can you even imagine if we try? I mean, well, we couldn't have. We didn't even have the files done by then, so it wouldn't have happened. But these are, I mean, it's why, working with somebody who knows this stuff is really helpful, because saying, okay, it's going to take 2 weeks for this part alone. So,
yeah.
but then you wanted to make sure that, like, can you imagine, let's say all the files were ready and everything. Can you imagine coming home from a cruise and doing the launch that you did the next day, having been,
Well, no.
no,
I wouldn't have done it that way. So again, and then I changed. It also you gave me inspiration to actually change part of my launch plan. So I wasn't going to do all these parties, but I'm so glad that I did because it allowed me to continue on the energy. It made it great. It made it great. And when the results were there, like the results were there. I got the results I wanted, which was to get those Amazon screenshots of like it's number one in bestsellers or it's number one in entrepreneurship today.
yeah. Yeah, well, you did good. And the best part is that you didn't just hit, a lot of people can rise to the top of number one new releases. And that's what a lot of people will screenshot, that number one in new
Yeah.
releases. But you actually got to the top in the category, in the actual category. So that's great. It's a great screenshot. It's a great thing to share. It's a great thing to be like, at least for 1 hour today, I was number one. And you were up
Right.
there for a few hours. You were up there for quite a while. It was a good day. It was a
And
really
so,
good day.
numerically speaking, that looked like about 178 sales. And I didn't have the Audible version yet. But again, like that meant I had to really rally. Like thank you to everyone who bought multiple copies. Thank you to everyone who showed up and delivered. And that's, I didn't buy them myself. I bought one of each.
Now you have
But
a
I bought
fair,
more than
I thank you for sharing that number because I think that's really important for people
that.
to
Yeah.
realize is that, and I didn't check today, but how many, do you know how many reviews you have at this point?
I was just gonna look. I was just
Okay,
gonna
you look while I'm talking. Even with a large, very engaged audience like Renee has, uh, 178, and that's those numbers, that's very normal numbers. Like that's about what it takes. And I think that is another thing that people don't realize. They think that since they have this,
yeah.
very engaged email list, very engaged group, coaching clients, all these kinds of things that people are just going to buy the book, and it doesn't always, it almost never actually happens that way. So this is the beginning of a continued process, and it's the beginning of you really niching into that particular audience to
Yeah.
market that book to, and continuing to grow the audience around that
Yeah.
you know
39 reviews.
39 reviews again, with 178 sales and a launch team of 75 people.
Right.
It's
That's
hard.
realistic.
It
It
is,
is.
and
Right.
it's very hard. We want to get you to 50 reviews as quickly as we can. So if you were on her launch team and you haven't left your review yet, this is something else a lot of people don't know.
Right.
Reviews are critical. It's almost more important than a sale, although that the sale plus the review is the most magical moment for people in terms of credibility, but more important than that, in terms of Amazon recommending your book and pushing your book out, because
Yeah.
what you want to do is get as much organic traffic as possible. So go
Right.
leave your reviews and help authors out when they ask you for reviews. It's very, very important.
Yeah. Yeah. So the 50. So again, another thing I didn't really, I didn't have a mile marker, but I didn't know. I was just I kept asking and I do keep asking. But so what's the deal with 50?
Well, Amazon doesn't like to share. They won't never, geez Louise, they will never put out this is how we calculate ranking and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But a lot of very smart people study all of this stuff and what's
Yeah.
happening. And the kind of the rule out there, not the rule, but the kind of information that those people who are studying all of this stuff put out there is that it appears that um, once your book has in the ballpark of 50 or more reviews,
Mm-hmm.
Amazon takes your book as a serious book, and will be more likely, if you're running ads, to push those ads out a little bit more, especially over other competing books that have fewer reviews. Because think about it, Amazon wants to make money. So
Mm-hmm.
they're going to push the books that they see people actually buying and reviewing before anything else. So if you notice on Amazon, there's the also bots, like people who bought this book also bought. You're more
Mm-hmm.
likely to be featured there. You're more likely to be pushed organically out in other ways. So it matters. It really matters.
Awesome.
Yeah.
There's so many little details in boxes that I needed to fill out. Opening credits, ending credits, forward, afterward, all the I mean there's a lot of things I was like, "Oh, I didn't write that part. Oh, hold on, I got to do that." Oh. All right. So,
Julie has a question. You mind if I pop that
please
question in while I'm doing
please
that?
do.
Okay, so she says, as a fiction author, I don't think I want to release chapters. I am struggling today. Chapters in the manner a nonfiction writer will do. However, I think sending
Right.
out teasers and bonus chapters could entice people. Any thoughts? I have lots of thoughts on this, Julie. Um,
Let's talk about it.
so let's talk about it. On a nonfiction side, you really, really need, as we discussed, you need that. It's good to have that feedback, that
Mhm.
engagement with your audience. On the fiction side, this is called, so there are all kinds of sites like Wattpad and other places like that where you can actually serialize your fiction. You can release chapter by chapter as a method to grow your fan base while you're writing your book. So everybody's probably familiar with the book 50 Shades of Grey. She
Mhm.
actually had that book out on a fanfic site, or on a sharing fiction sharing site, and and grew that audience to a lot of people. That's how her book got noticed by the traditional publishing industry. And
Hmm.
then those fans loved her so much that when it was republished, she self-published first, then it was republished, and she still hit the top for like weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. So that is one way that you can build an audience while you're writing your book. However, most authors aren't thinking that far ahead when they're doing it, and they write their novel, they get it edited, they're in that process, and then they will create arc teams, and they will actually give the entire book to their arc teams and have them um, do the same thing basically that Renee had her arc team do: read it, go leave reviews, help champion the book. Teasers and bonus chapters, I'm not a fan of. Just like saying, go to my website and get a free chapter of my book on the fiction side. On the nonfiction side, you can actually they're usually very good chapters, but don't call it a free chapter of my book. You build that list saying, go grab my, sales tips or whatever, my process for launching a product, and it's a chapter of your book, but you don't tell people that as to get them up, because that's boring. But on the fiction side, one chapter of your book's not going to do anything for anybody. It's not going to get them excited. It's not going to be enough for them to go over and do that. However, if you've already published a book and you're growing a fan base and your fans love you, you can entice people by linking to, like, in the back of your book when you put it on Amazon, you can say, go over, get on my email list and get my cut scene chapter, or get my chapter written from the other person's perspective or something like that. That's when single chapters really work with fiction. So hopefully that answered that question. um and lots of nonfiction people don't do what Renee did, but I think what you did was super smart. And I think it's a long tail. I think it will take time as you work with these people and as they come through. Like, life happens, right? When life gets lifey, I heard somebody
Yeah.
say the other day. And so it may not be that they're not going to leave reviews. It may just be
Right.
that their life was lifey.
Right. Right. We can appreciate that, can't we?
Absolutely. Oh, yes,
So it's
absolutely.
never stop asking, right? So that's why getting them onto a regular list into our instead of our email service provider, and then continuing, once a month is what our cadence is expected. So if you're listening and you're on that list, expect an email soon.
Exactly. And yeah, I love Ashley's comment here. It was such a fun day watching you hit number one in multiple
Oh,
categories. It is fun. And that's one of the things that, like, as a participant,
right.
you
She's a big part of the launch team. Yes,
you
thank
really get, yes, thank you, Ashley. You really get involved. Like, you are part of making that happen. So that's super exciting. All right, so we've talked about, some of the mistakes that you made, the things that you
you.
realized. What's the one thing you would do differently? Can you think of one thing, or maybe it's a couple of things?
A couple of things probably. I would have given myself more time. That's the number one thing.
Mhm.
I would have given it the same amount of attention that I gave writing it. And that again, like as the expert, as the author, you think the content is the most important part. And it is, and yes, but if no one reads it, it doesn't matter how good it is, right? So it's like, how good is the email? Well, the subject line has to get them to click through. How good is that sales page that you're talking about in your email? Well, the email has to be good enough to get them to click through. How good is that
Yeah.
program? Well, the sales page has to be good enough to get them to click through. And so giving myself more time and attention on the launch process, even though you've given me much praise, I want to give that right back to you because that's where I got everything I did from you. It just was from 2019 and it still works. So, what would I have done differently? Given myself more time and maybe and attention on specific details. I would have called you earlier.
Yeah.
I would have gotten you back coaching me earlier instead of February and then launched on April 8th, which was still a rush. And you did, I mean, praise so much to help me. And again, tip of the hat, I had Kate Allison, I had Dory Durbin, I had lots of people helping me and you and your team. And so that also costs money, right? So that was another part. I was fine spending it. I understand the benefits long term, but some people feel like, oh, that's too much. I don't want, that's why I don't want to do it with, um, a team like that. Well, if I had had some forethought, I would have bought your book lunch in a box and actually had me and my right hand person go through it, and then we would have done it.
Yeah.
But again, but there's lots of things that could happen. But if I had had more information, more education, and more time and attention that I was willing to give it, I did it again. I didn't know what I didn't know. version 2.0 is going to be even better.
Well, and that's just it, right? You make those mistakes, you learn from them, you do them better, and to the point on cost, it is I'm not gonna lie. If you do the process correctly, it is very expensive. There's a lot involved in publishing a book between editing, cover design, formatting, if you hire a coach or someone to help you through. But I cannot impress to you enough about how important it is to invest the money. You all I'm assuming you're all entrepreneurs. I never actually asked that question. I know Tracy is an author, but she's growing a business around her books. I know Mary very well.
Mhm.
Um, Annie is on my team, so I know her, but the others I don't know quite as well. I might know Julie, but I know a lot of Julies, so I'm not sure if I know that Julie S. But if you were to, I assume most of you are in the digital entrepreneurship space. If you were to launch a product and not invest anything in the way your sales page looked, in the way in any coaching and any of those things, it's not going to get you the same benefit than if you put some skin in the game. And this book is not meant to be something it's meant, think of it as a product. Whether it is fiction or nonfiction or a children's book or a memoir, I work with authors of all ranges. But you have to think of it as a business product and invest just as much in it as anything else.
Yeah. And I know, so Caitlin Harris, who's here, she just published an ebook, and I think that there's future goals for that as well. And I know Mary's got another book she wants to write, and so again, like, books unlock doors. Like, this is a key card to me
Yep.
getting keynote talks, to me
Yep.
being on podcasts that won't even talk to somebody until they have a book published. Oh, ebook and paperback coming! Yay,
Woohoo!
Caitlin! Good. Well,
Automation strategist. Nice. I might
yes.
need your help.
You're in the right place. Yes. And all of us have a story to tell. And the question is, what story can we tell? And I know, so, I mean, Alexa, you come to this point with so much background and experience. Oh, good. Mary says it's so helpful. That's good. Thank you. Um, how many books, if you can just share with the audience, how many books have you personally published, both fiction and nonfiction? I mean, it's a lot. I don't even know.
Uh,
8, 12,
of
15?
my own books that I have okay, I've either been full author or co-author or director of my books. We are at 14 published, I think. I might have hit 15. No, I think my last big book was 15.
Yeah.
Um, the amount that I've been involved with, I don't even know anymore. I
I mean,
lost count
yeah,
years ago.
exactly. Right. There we go. Exactly. So you have been, this is your whole, like, this is your whole brand. Like, you're like, everything I do is to help people bring books to life, like publish books in all capacities. And
Yes.
so those little things that just kind of slip out as you're talking, I'm like, well, like the 50 review thing, you're like, well, it's not documented, but based on experience, this is what it has. That's what experts know.
Right.
And the rest of us don't. We can't Google
Right.
that. It's
Right.
unless we binge your content. And that's why we're creating this fireside chat so that others can get that experience benefit.
Well, and that's kind of why I built my entire company is that the frustration of I made so many mistakes. Oh my gosh, I've made some mistakes that are just painfully embarrassing as now an industry professional and like please don't let anybody ever find that book. And money and time and so I was able to coach you through that process because I have done all the things that you
Mhm.
were about to do.
Yes.
And I knew that and recognized that. But I wanted to be able to talk about the program that I run because
Yes.
it's very reasonably priced, and two, it will save you so much time and money and anyway, I'm going to show you. I have just recently completely revamped my entire program, so it's brand new. I've just created a cool new digital workbook so you can work through. It's got lots of checklists. I'm going to give you a little quick preview at it because if you are thinking about launching a book and you want all the things to think about and all the oh I wish I'd known, this
Mhm.
is it. This is what I've created after 12 years of publishing books, and I call it Book Launch in a Box. It does come with Q&A sessions, with live Q&A sessions with me over 6 months of guided, but more importantly, it comes with lifetime access to those Q&As because
Yeah.
a lot of times you're in Renee's first position. You're thinking about it, you're doing it, you're in it, but you're not there yet. And so I want people to be able to come back as they're launching their book and as they're launching their next book and all those types of things. So this is the digital workbook. I just want to show it to you because it has all the components of the 6 modules that we cover, but it's got my marketing book in it that you can download. But we start with the very basics. And for some people, you know already your book is marketable. Renee already has an audience, you already have people in it. She could skip this part. But for a lot of people, they don't know. So we have a pre-marketing assessment, we have pre-marketing checklist, and how prepared are you to publish your book? This question right here, do you have these things? And it's a short, this is just the basics, but it's enough for you to say, oh, wait. And I think I'm going to add some details in here because it's not just a professional cover design, it's a cover design formatted for, and when we go into these, we'll make sure that you need to have one specific to Ingram Spark and one for KDP and all these types of things. But this is what you got to do before you even start. These are the basics. And so it's got all of these different things in here. And I love this because when you get the workbook, you'll actually be able to personalize it, check things off. We've got this table of contents that walks you through here, but these are the main modules. We go through the pre-work about are you even ready to launch your book? And if you're not, then these are the things you need to be working on. But we go through the book marketing foundation. If you don't know who your ideal reader is, that's really important to figure out. What budget do you need to have? Setting goals sounds so stinking cliche, but you have to know what you're trying to do with your book. It's not negotiable. You've got to know where you're trying to go with this so that you can set up the path to get there properly. And then creating that timeline. What does the timeline look like? And you've got me to sit there and say, no, 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 you cannot do it in that timeline. So, I'm not going to let you. I think I actually said that to you at one point in
You
time. I was
did.
like, I'm
Thank you.
sorry, Renee, I am not going to allow you.
And again, ladies, you know me. I was so resistant. I was like, I have made up my mind already. But wait, hold
I
on.
was
What did you just say?
I was like, this is the hill I will die on. I know we're friends and we are colleagues, and you may hate me for saying this, but you're not allowed to do this. So,
You need someone like that in your life. And so if I had just done this course before I set sail, I would have been so much better off.
so we go through the key things, the metadata. That this is something most people have no clue about. How do you
Yeah.
find the keywords, the categories, all of those types of
We
things?
spent so much time on that, and I was
Hmm.
so blind. I was like, the what? I mean, I know what it means for my sales pages, but I'm like, oh,
Yeah, just the things like making sure you have a sales copy that's going to convert your book. Pricing. How many conversations did we have around the pricing of the book?
let me talk
Right.
about this metadata for a second. So, if those of you who have ever run ads, like Facebook meta ads, it was very much like that in terms of audience selection. It was this category and this subcategory with these other 3 subcategories. And it was something I would have never been able to know about or do properly if I had not had this guidance. So, it is here and is what, you can pay 2 ways, right? Get Alexa to tell you personally or get it all done in advance. And yeah, that was just way much. And the pricing, correct. I was like, well, I could do this and I could do that. And sure, I could have just landed on a price and then nothing would have broken. But there were lots of differences, like with commissions and status and all these different, again, things that she and her background and experience share here that I paid for privately, right? I could have been better off cheap. It could have been better. It would have been better pricing if I had done it in advance.
Right. Um, so we go through all of that stuff to make sure that you're set up properly. Okay, I do want to clarify, it is not a self-publishing 101 course. I do not go through and
Yeah.
teach you everything about it. However, I do give you as a bonus my self-publishing 101 course so that you can go through and see all those things and know and understand and get a little more on there. And then 3, the pre-launch actions. This is where it's really at. Building your ARC team, getting pre-launch reviews, working with influencers, building buzz, all the things that you need to do, the timelines, how you do it, how you get trade reviews, how you get editorial reviews, spreadsheets and things that we've already pulled together, people you can reach out to across all genres, where to put it, how to put it, all the things.
Mhm.
Then we move into the launch day activities, which we just give you some checklists and things that you can do. And then keeping momentum beyond the launch. So this is your immediate, like, what do you need to do? What do you need to be prepared for in that immediate launch window and just a little bit beyond that. And then your next steps, like what happens next in the long run. So that's the core information around it. And this digital workbook is just kind of a cool way to keep it all organized. And we've got these modules that you can pop into, and it's got things you'll be able to, you can reflection questions you'll be able to type in here and keep all of this. You can share it with a team member. It's got activities. It's sometimes I've got some podcast episodes that go along with it that will help you if you want more information. Your goals worksheets. I mean, this is the way the whole program goes. Plus, it also has, if you want more information, we've got the Thinkific course where we dig deep into additional training on these topics. But really, this workbook plus your Q&A sessions with us and my team, and the ability to be able to come in and get accountability and ask questions.
Right. There's a live component here, which is
Yeah,
insane.
yeah.
It's so good.
So whoopsie, I didn't want to be all the way on that page, but I just wanted to show off some. I've worked a lot with I thought that this was going to be largely nonfiction authors, so I only highlighted our nonfiction authors. But Tracy Meyer is one of our fiction authors who's here today. She's been in it. We work with all genres and have published all genres, and I write nonfiction and fiction, and I have a children's book company, so we're very well versed in all of these things. But I did just want to quickly go through here. You can see here she is, not just in a new release banner, but actually number one on a best-selling list, which was great. And I think the print book was only a couple down from there.
It
It
was.
was
It was like number
number
three.
three.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
number three. And I was like, I mean, there was other people that I was up there with. I was like, wow, I know those people.
Yeah, exactly. So I went through the modules already, but we have a bunch of extra bonuses that we have included in this. This just goes through the modules. We don't need to go through all that. There's some big testimonials here that, again, I pulled all of our nonfiction testimonials because that's who I thought I was going to be talking to today. But Linda Needham has been a traditionally published romance author for 25 years,
Yeah.
and she decided to write a nonfiction book, and it blew her mind. She's one of our biggest advocates because she was like, I didn't know all of this stuff, and I've been publishing for 25 years. So yeah, okay. So I'm just gonna throw this link in the chat, and if I do have a special offer for Renee's community, if you use the coupon code Renee, and the link is writepublishsell.com/blab for book launch in a box. I'm just gonna throw that in the chat really quickly. Use the coupon code Renee. It will take 20% off straight off of everything. We have lots of payment plans happening, and the actual course starts in June. We're in our kickoff planning right now, but you can save 20% is the savings. Sorry, I don't know what I actually said. But let's see. Okay, I'm just gonna drop that. I'm not trying to, nope, I dropped it just to host some panelists. I'm not trying to do a super hard sell today, but I just want, what I have found is that it's important to know what resources are out there for you to help you. And if I can help you for 700 and whatever it was dollars to avoid
Yeah.
making big ugly mistakes, please
Yeah.
allow me that honor.
And she will tell you straight up. That's which is so helpful. Like, wait, don't do that. Hold on a second. Try this instead. What about this? So the fact that this has that live component is really incredible. And also, yeah, thank you. Coupon code Renee.
Yes. And it's, I don't know. Oh, Tracy, thank you. She said she's fabulous. It's also group think. Like when we come together as a group, we also have accountability. So that's more, it's less me and more of the actual authors, and they can come in and talk through all the things and have that moment. They really, it's amazing what you know that I don't know. And when you're talking through a problem and someone says, oh, wait, I heard this thing, or you should meet my friend Renee. She's a sales coach. She'd be the perfect person, to whatever. So it's good to be in a group of authors doing author things when you're writing a book, even though we know, I mean, Renee and I are busy business builders. My business just happens to be in the publishing world.
Mhm.
But, I love to just be author sometimes too.
Yes, yes, exactly. It's nice to be in that space. And again, in hindsight, it would have been a great idea, Renee.
Right.
Next time, next time. I got lots of books in me. Now that I did this, I was like, okay, this is good. Let's do some more.
Well, if it was that easy and if you could come out the gate swinging and do it all by yourself, I wouldn't have a job. So,
Like, it's for all things, right? We need, it takes a village. It takes a village. Thank you for helping me through everything. Yeah. Thank you for guiding me and not letting me do not letting me go down the wrong path. I was like Mr. Magoo walking through the construction.
oh,
So,
you're so welcome. I'm a people pleaser, and there was a time when I probably would have said, "We can probably make that happen. Okay, we'll figure it out." And I've just learned that does you no good, and it definitely
correct.
doesn't do me any good because I would have felt compelled to make it happen for you, which would have not been good for anyone. So no, it's much more. I think it's the same when you're working with your clients, right? It's much more important to hear somebody give you realistic and honest feedback than to say, "Yes, you're the best singer I've ever heard."
Right. Goes on national television. Person
Right.
finally tells you the truth. You're like, oh,
Millions of people see that you are not, in fact, a good singer.
correct. Outside of your bathroom.
That's right.
Auto tune.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's a question in the box. If anybody, thoughts on using vellum for formatting? I am a huge vellum fan. If you are doing a fiction book or a memoir or a simple nonfiction book that doesn't have, Renee's had all kinds of special things to it that a program like Vellum, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, it's a what's the word? A software that you can load your Word document into it and it'll format your book really fast. Like, boom, it's done. But it only works if you're okay with the limited styles that they have for the chapter heading and the fonts that they use. And so it works really, really well for fiction books and simple nonfiction books. But for anything else that has special graphics, special things, if you want anything, right? Renee's book is a great example. It would not have worked for her at all. And that's when you really want to make sure that you're hiring professional designers on those
Mhm.
types of books. But yeah, I formatted both of my novels in vellum, and I just love it. And it spits out the EPUB perfectly done for you. And I mean, I'm a huge fan. Vellum all the way.
Yeah, because when we were uploading it, when as soon as we uploaded, and it was like all these red X's, like no, 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 I was like, okay, crap, back to the drawing board. So if I hadn't had you and all of your resources, like you had me plugged into like your cover designer, your formatter, and all these things, I would have been up Shit's Creek without a paddle. I would have been like, hey, we're gonna launch next year, kids. Guess what? It's gonna be 2026. I hope it all works out for you.
It's funny because I don't think about it very much until like you spell it out for me, like the importance of having all of those connections and how nice it is to plug someone straight in where you don't have to go find somebody else or find. 'Cause there are a lot. I mean, that's the other thing is that there are a lot of people out there saying that they are professional cover designers who don't actually know how they know graphic design and they know how to use InDesign, but they're not cover
Mhm.
designers and they don't know all the things. And so there's a lot of people who wind up hiring people who can basically do the job. It's like those commercials. She's the world's okayest mom. You don't want the world's okayest graphic designer when you're trying to sell
Right.
a book.
Well, one of the things you had said is like go look at other covers of other similar books, and I felt like I had done that. I was like, let me do it again, and I realized the designer I had literally pulled the same template as like three other books in my category. I was like, well, thank God I kept going. Oh, it would have been like the same, but like different words.
I don't think you told me that. Maybe you were like, I've shared too much by
Too
this
much.
point.
Yeah, too much. How many Voxer conversations back and forth did we have? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. You're like, it's so simple. Just do this. Me. And that was only because I had gone in there and tried and then failed. And I was like, if I do it wrong, and that
Yeah, yeah,
is a big deal. It's a big deal, and it's when it's you're having a baby basically. That's what it is. So
absolutely.
this I wish I had yes I wish I had gone through this program before. Okay.
Well, I'm happy to answer any more questions that anyone has. I've got your emails because you signed up, so I'll send out the recording to this and I'll send out the link to that. And This is not a pressure sale. I know that's what salespeople are supposed to be doing. You gotta join by, 24 hours from here, or the coupon's no good. As if you want to join us all the way up until the day we start, which is June 23rd, I will not shut down that Renee coupon code. And Renee, you can share it with anyone you want to. Like
Awesome.
my
Yeah.
big goal is to help bring forth good books into the marketplace and to help people not make mistakes and have issues and everything. So, and also if you've already published a book and you realize maybe you didn't do all the things you wanted to, I have lots of authors who come through the program on their second, third, I think we had one author who'd already published two full series, so she had 8 books out already, and she came in. So there's I'm 12, 13 years into this business, and I'm still learning. So
Yes. Agreed. And there's different versions or editions, like, right? So you could even have, like, I was talking about this with you earlier, like, if we changed what, 20% of this, it could be version, like a new edition, right? Like the second edition, the third edition, the fourth edition. I don't know how you feel about that. What do you think?
absolutely. I mean, if because you want a book like yours, I don't know how it is in the sales world. I know in the publishing, not in the publishing like big picture stuff, but in the like nitty-gritty, like if somebody were to publish a step-by-step book of how to load your book to Ingram Spark or Amazon,
It would
even
change.
2 years ago, they would have to redo it because everything has changed,
Right.
right?
Right.
Which that was part of the fun of loading your book to Ingram Spark was I
Right.
needed a new tutorial because mine was totally outdated.
Right.
So, if you write a book like that that's going to get outdated, you must do multiple editions and
Right.
update with the changes. But if you write a book that's evergreen, that's always going to be the same, like
Mm-hmm.
a novel, for example,
Mm-hmm.
I'm having a hard time. Can you think of anything in the nonfiction? Well, history. If you write a biography about somebody who's dead, that's never going to change.
New
Like, we
information
hope.
revealed.
Right,
He opened a
right.
trunk in his attic, and guess what?
There you go.
But
Okay, so
it's like a sales opportunity. I think of it, right? Like, so I don't think anything in my book is like people are people, but I can imagine a second edition, new stories,
yes,
new
yes,
things. So I mean, it's just for me like a sales opportunity to
absolutely,
relaunch it because that was fun with
absolutely.
you now.
Julie, if you have any questions for me, don't hesitate to reach out and ask. We have a ton of fun bonuses and things coming up. And I feel like I told Ray when I was gonna. I'm sorry, this week has been so nuts. I'm leaving for a conference tomorrow, and my kids are sick, and I'm trying to get my son graduated from high school, much with lots of resistance. But I had a bonus that I was going to add, especially for you guys, and I forgot what it is. So I'll ask Raywin what it was that I told. And
Perfect.
Renee's like, I did not coach this woman how to sell. This
No,
is
we did
not
not.
what I
I
taught
did not.
you.
I did not coach her through this webinar, but it is something that I wanted to do because I believe in you and what you did for me, and I just wanted everybody to know. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. And this has been a lot of fun. And I really think that lessons learned are so important. And I am so grateful to you that you listened to me because
Yeah.
I know that sounds really, really, I don't know how that sounds,
No,
but
it
I'm
sounds
glad that
great.
you listened to me because you had such a phenomenal launch. And that's the only way I would want it for you. So,
Thank you. And I still have more things I would do differently and that I want to do better next time, like we all do.
yeah,
So
and we
thank you.
will.
We will.
Okay, everyone. Well, reach out if you have any questions. Otherwise, I hope you found this very useful. And thank you, Renee, and good luck with all the other things. And we will see you soon.
Thank you, everyone.
All
Bye.
right, bye.